Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the most popular automation podcast on IBM, specifically on their YouTube channel, the Gregg and Joe Turbo Show.
I'm excited.
Hey, there he is. I'm Joe, joined as always by the brains of the operation, Mr. Greg Minicello. What's up, Greg?
Hello.
Dude, it's springtime. You're still wearing a hoodie. Is it still cold where you are?
Yeah. Are you kidding? Spring? It's February. It's 26 degrees.
Spring in Florida, I guess. I guess it's
right.
Hey, today this is exciting. We're actually having podception here. we are had to. I thought about.
You said
that
you weren't going to say that, Joe.
I know. I lied. No, but today we're joined by David Bailey, who is a technical specialist with IBM, but also hosts his own podcast about IT and technology. Welcome, David. How's it going?
It's good, man. Loosely technology, mostly just other stuff. But, It is what it is.
Other stuff is good.
Is that
I was telling David when he first joined that he's making us look bad with his professional setup.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
I'm doing something a little new today in that theme. I'm using a headset instead of the mic in my camera.
There you go.
I'd love to hear from the rabid fans out there how it improves or disproves how it improves my voice.
Yes. Nothing's going to help, Greg. Sorry.
Okay, right. Fair. We tried.
Anyway, but no, David, we're happy to have you. I know we chatted last week in preparation for this, and you kind of gave us a little background on kind of what you do at IBM, but maybe we can just start with, who are you? Where are you? How'd you get here? And what are you currently working on?
Yeah, man. I'm David Bailey, like you said. I'm here in Frisco, Texas, outside of Dallas. Work out of the Dallas office a few days a week. Been around technology for the last decade or so. Started at HP, made some stops at a couple startups, and a pretty large reseller along the way. So kind of seen tech from every angle, from a infrastructure level to cloud infrastructure, cloud services. And now I'm working primarily in application integration. So pretty exciting place to be right now. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Great. What so for those folks who aren't part of IBM, they might be unfamiliar, but IBM, we have like sort of I guess pillars, if you will, like technology pillars, and kind of that's how we sort of organize all the various products that IBM has. So I guess what pillar do you fall in? And I guess, loosely what products, it might be a lot of them, do you cover?
Yeah, so there's a ton actually. So IBM, big giant corporation, and we do a whole lot of things. We're not just mainframes anymore. So, there's a ton of things out there. So the way everything's divided up right now, we've got the systems group that handles, storage, power, still mainframes even, and then moving into cloud infrastructure as well. So we have a whole cloud infrastructure group, and then we have software. And then where software lies, last year we had really 4 pillars in software. We had security, we had sustainability, data and AI, and also automation. And this year, in the automation world where I live, we took on a lot of the sustainability portfolio and some of the security portfolio as well. So I'm in the process of really just getting up to, a 200 level on a lot of the sustainability products we have. It's pretty exciting. We've got some really cool things around enterprise asset management. We've got some really cool things around green initiatives, ESG, that type of thing, with a product called Invisi that, as I'm learning more about Invisi, I continue to just think about turbonomic. So want to get into that later on. We've got the sustainability stuff. I've got network automation stuff. I've got the IT automation stuff with Turbonomic and Stana. And then I've got kind of my sweet spot around application integration with API integration, API-led integration. That's kind of where I specialize. But yeah, Invisi, man, we've been having a lot of conversations around reporting on green initiatives and carbon emissions, and making sure that your supply chain is being accountable to the to the carbon emissions that they're putting off. And that's great and good. I know the EU is coming out with new mandates over the next few years. I think everything's got to be done by 2028, but they're starting with the largest companies in 2025 and 2026. But where my mind goes is like right now with the just huge, fast adoption of AI. That means that data center footprints are growing tremendously. And as data center footprints grow tremendously, so do carbon emissions. And so I've been having a little bit of having a few conversations around with these ESG customers about how do we not only show accountability to what you're putting out, but also reduce those carbon emissions. And Turbonomic is one of those things if we're talking about a large data center footprint. Is that something you guys have kind of come into?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, right? I mean, sort of the concept of like efficiency and savings on-prem in particular has always been something that Turbo has kind of hung its hat on. I think it may have not have gotten the shine necessarily early that it is now, which is great because now, I think this whole thing around FinOps and being really conscious about your dollars has sort of bled back into the on-prem stuff, and folks are trying to figure out, how can we not only be responsible, good stewards of the earth, but how can we also save some money? Because those two things kind of go hand in hand there in the sense. And like you said with AI, I mean, GPUs need juice, lots and lots of juice,
Right.
and so yeah, I think it's kind of almost a perfect marriage and a lot of synergies across like portfolios. I think Invisi already has like a turbo dashboard built in actually, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, that definitely something worth kind of, and that's a good thing about bringing these portfolios together. Everything has always been so siloed as long as I've been at IBM, and it's hard to really see how everything fits together. But it's really interesting, having the perspective of understanding the AI automation. IT automation stuff that we've gotten from working with Turbo and working with Instana for years. Now we're looking at this as well, and it's like, hey, these customers, they have the same story, and we can talk to these customers about this, and it's pretty exciting because we get to help people more. And I mean, if it's cost saving measures, then it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's something that's been we talk about in Turbonomic, most especially in like the post sales, right? Expert labs world that I live in. The positive business outcomes that customers buy software or buy services, right, to attain. We always want to nail those down to make sure that we're delivering the value from what the customer wants to get out of it. And that has almost every time I've been in a customer engagement has come up as one of the positive business values or objectives rather. Boy, I'm mixing all the words together. It's wild. Is the sustainability aspect, right? And it's one of the areas where when we talk to customers, we talk to executive sponsors that have brought Turbonomic in and want to gain that value. It's one of those areas we can use as, I don't want to call it leverage, but as a means of adoption, right? If you already have prioritized some sustainability goals and some sustainability objectives that you have for your organization or for your enterprise, it's easy to sort of like ride that train, right? Just tack your caboose onto the end of that train and say, yeah, Turbonomic can do that, Invisi can do that, Instana can help you with that, whatever the product may be, and that unlocks doors, right? It helps to get to the conversations of people who are doing those things, and helps me, right, selfishly, with my agenda, which is to help the customer to gain that value that they're looking for. And it may just be sort of like a one path, right? Okay, sure, we're going to talk about sustainability, but in that path of sustainability, not to say that we're just checking that box, but let's loop back around because we used that and that was a vehicle for adoption. You're gaining these outcomes that you look for, was you want to have efficient, you want to gain, you want to ensure that you have performance assurance happening in the environment, and you're doing it, you're spending that right dollar on the right things. So it's come to light in that respect, but also in the product itself. vCenter exposes energy metrics to us.
Yeah.
We gather them in Turbo, but we didn't always show them in the UI. We didn't always make them front and center and like a first-class citizen in the product. Now we do, right? We've got it in our capacity and utilization widgets. We've got it in plan metrics and, the before and after for hosts and the summary of that plan. We've got it in reporting. We've got it in, well, that's about it. Right? So those sort of three areas, right? But it is pervasive in the product. It's not just a bolt-on, just a sort of like
An
gravy,
afterthought,
right?
right,
An afterthought.
right.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And words are hard, Joe, and that's why we have you.
It's been a long week. It's Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not
been
even
a long
spring
week today.
It's not even spring where you are yet, dude. I mean, that sounds terrible.
Right.
That's awful.
Right.
That's
I'm
awful
still frozen.
for you. No, but I think it's a good point. Like with just talking about sort of the opportunities that exist across what have been siloed portfolios, really, even at IBM. I think this year I've seen a lot already in looking for those opportunities and bringing those opportunities to the forefront of like, hey, you haven't busy, you care about, you're obviously tracking this for a reason. Let us help you to make those numbers look better. Okay, here's how we can do that. And then like another one would be like, do you cover Maximo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like that's a big product. I mean, I've never really seen like a full demo of Maximo. I've heard about it. Sounds like it does a lot of things and is very big, which is cool. But I do know that one of the big initiatives this year is around bringing Maximo and Apptio together, and this concept of EBM, which is Enterprise Business Management. Right. So it's kind of like Apptio 1, right? So getting to understanding the total cost of ownership for IT, right? But exposing that to the entire enterprise to say like, what's the total cost of ownership for maintenance here, or for this stack of sticky notes, to be able to really kind of give organizations like full visibility and control over their spend, not just for the IT departments. And that's something that, again, like that didn't happen last year. This year, they seem to be really focused on doing that, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, same.
Same. Yeah.
We like that's one element, and I've seen some data around that, and I've got some customer shareable stuff that I've looked at that really is combining that transparency and planning capabilities that you get from Apptio and really justifying investment and pursuing that down the line and being more agile in the way that you're approaching budgeting, mixing that with what you already have with all the data that's coming into Maximo and all of that, you can make really, really good informed decisions. And again, it's a money saving measure. Another thing that I'm excited about with Maximo, and this is crazy. We go on this podcast and I'm like, hey, I know a lot about API Connect and App Connect. You guys know a lot about Turbo, and we're spending all this time talking about
none of those things.
We're talking about something completely different. But I'm doing some training work right now in preparation for a workshop I'm attending at the end of the month. That's actually looking a little bit more at the developer side of Maximo with engineering lifecycle management and the agile processes that go with that, and mixing that with Watson Code Assistant and our Cloud Pak for apps. So I don't know what it entails, but there's a play there that it's like, hey, Maximo can help you manage things even from the dev side. So the Maximo is such a huge product with so many modules that do so many things that it's going to be it's definitely going to be a wade in the ocean for quite some time for me. But once I've got a good depth, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun.
It's a lot of training on the horizon for all of us, is what it sounds like. Which is fine. I'm cool with it. I like training.
I think I've got 60 something hours already this year. It's insane.
Yeah.
That 200 isn't going to be far off, right?
Nope.
It's not, man. I should have
You're
200
gonna be a gold learner
March.
in no time, dude.
I know, man. I know.
I like it. Yeah, it's interesting too. And like also the other big thing, right, would be like concert. Like eventually concert's going to play in all of this, right? It's going to be like this sort of the panopticon, that sort of central, command and control. You like that word, Greg?
I do. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I do like that. Well done.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's just a word that I use, not a big deal. But it's gonna be like a command and control for literally everything, right? It's gonna be like an ingestion point for all the different platforms and all these different portfolios, and that I think is gonna be really exciting to kind of see how that develops, because right now it does some really cool stuff, but obviously the plan is to continue to flesh it out. And I'm anticipating we'll see a lot more about that this year, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm incredibly excited about that. I had a chance to meet the product manager, program manager, the guy that's over the product. I don't know what his official title was, but this was as they were getting ready for immediate, like the right before GA. This was last year at TechX in Santa Clara. I think it was May, maybe June, I don't know, but early on as they were getting ready to release it. And he was like, we've got a few client zeros, but we're still not right there yet. But we've got people that are ready to come on and give us feedback on what this is doing and what's going to grow. But what he showed me that day was incredible. Just being able to kind of take the data that you're getting from one screen, like you've got your SIM over here that's worried about security and it's only worried about security, right? And all of a sudden you've got a dev environment that's got security risk, but it's like here's a red alert, you got to fix this right now.
Right.
But you've got Turbonomic, or not Turbonomic, let's say Instana is giving you alerts that you've got performance issues on a critical app, and it's like, okay, this is kind of yellow, this isn't red, but this is yellow. Well, the production environment's far more important than the dev environment. So how do you make decisions on which thing to do? Your infrastructure guy is going to be ultimately concerned about the production environment, and your security guy over here is going to be ultimately concerned about the security thing. But from a CTO standpoint, from a CIO standpoint, you've got to make a decision on where the resources are aligned to get things moving the way they should. So I'm excited about that. And then if you can pull the data that we're getting from Maximo and Avizia again into that tool, then it gives you a more holistic view. So I don't think there's anything else on the market that's giving that type of view into the enterprise.
No, at least not ones that we're going to talk about on this podcast. I'll tell you that right now. No, I'm just kidding. No, but there really isn't. There really is. There really isn't anything else like it. It is. Like I said, I think by the end of this year, I think it'll be really, really awesome. I mean, it is already awesome, but because also the other elements of that too is the sort of the built-in AI functionality to sort of help. And maybe in that scenario where you described, like, hey, I got to figure out what's more important here, right? Leveraging AI to either help to resolve both issues potentially at the same time, or help you to understand the global impacts of, like, okay, if I did this one first and put this one off, like what's going to happen here versus
Right.
the reverse of that. So yeah. Have you worked with Concert yet, Greg? Do you have customers yet that have it?
No, but it is certainly in my skills plan for this year to get more into it. It's certainly not something that for the group that I'm in that's going to be delivering services for, but it's got me interested. So it's on my goals for this year to actually go through it and learn more about it.
Sweet. I like it. So, David, you were saying, it's funny that we're not talking about any of the products you cover. So let's talk about some of the products you cover.
Yeah,
I think you said you mentioned like App Connect or API Connect. So just again, for folks who are not familiar with how IBM sort of structures everything. So I work in IT automation, and last year they kind of had it segmented. It was like a big umbrella, little umbrella kind of deal, right? So app mod and integration is where things like those products landed last year. I know it's changed a bit this year. So I've always kind of been adjacent to it, but never really worked directly with any of them. So I mean, maybe give us a little insight into what those things are and why they're so cool.
Yeah. So both of them are incredible. The kind of 101 level of how I explain this to, like, when we have new hires come in, like, hey, this is what this product does. This is why it matters. API Connect is the place. So for the audience, if anybody's unaware, API is essentially it's a piece of language that allows one application to speak to another language, or to another application that could believe. You have a Python app talking to a Java app over here, but you're passing what's called an object across from one service to another service, and then they both understand the object. And then it also has a gateway there, so that if let's say I'm a shoe manufacturer and I'm working with a third party shoe reseller, and they need stock levels, they need price books, they need shipping information, they need lead times, and they need all this information on that's inside the firewall at the shoe manufacturer. We can set up an API gateway, create an API call that the reseller can then go and say, hey, Mr. Shoe Manufacturer, I need this information, and then systematically it'll send it back to their application. So if you go online and you're ordering shoes off of a reseller and they're like, we have this many in stock, we have this price, and that price is changing dynamically. However, that's because of an API call coming from that web server back to the manufacturer's API gateway. So API Connect is, at the end of the day, what it is it's like really 3 or 4 API products in one umbrella. So there's API Manager, where you're able to go and create and secure, manage the lifecycle of your APIs, edit. It's got low code and no code and full code editing capabilities right there in the tool. Gives you the ability to do all of the pre-work. It also has a built-in gateway. That is a company we bought years back called Data Power. They're really a pioneer in the API gateway space. But that's part of the API Connect platform. And it's a world-class gateway and it's got its own product team that's doing development on it. So we've got a world-class API manager. You've got a world-class API gateway. We also have a developer portal that's it's a customizable Drupal-based website, essentially. That's also another world-class product right there that allows you to socialize your APIs to third parties. And then on the back end, we've got an analytics engine. So in the analytics engine is gathering a ton of data that we can show you, help you troubleshoot any problems with your APIs, and also offload that data to Splunk, to an advanced security provider we work with called No Name. Tons of other places. Your APM tools can gather that data through S3 Pub Sub. So incredible product. So API Connect is really for anybody that's developing APIs and needs to socialize those APIs to a third party, or someone who is utilizing APIs and needs to have enhanced security and singular control over the API estate. So that's API Connect. We also have another product over here called App Connect. And what App Connect does is it allows you to take the APIs of tons of different vendors. We got like 150, 170, forgive me for not knowing the exact number, of built-in connectors that it's an integration hub. So traditionally, the way this is done is you have an application over here that needs to talk to this application. It's got to make an API call. And if it needs to talk to another application, then you got to make another API call. What we can do is we can put that stuff in order. There's a hub, you talk to the hub, and then the hub talks to all the different applications that you need to integrate with. And so one thing I did, I've got a YouTube video out there, but it's like, hey, I found a random joke generator on like Google App Engine. And so I just an API call, send an API call. I took that JSON response that I got from that API, I just sent it to Slack to see what it looked like. Took that back in, threw it in a JSON parser, created a schema, which I didn't actually create it. I generated it in the tool because it automatically generates schema. You can go and edit it if you want to, but it'll automatically generate a schema for you. And then sent that, turned it into, took the key value pairs into something that I could use, translated that back into Slack messages. So I'm using this API called, I've got a JSON parser, and then I've got a Slack message. And I'm like, hey, want to hear a joke? And here's the setup. And then I send another message that's got the punchline. Happens every hour. I get to annoy the people around me at least once an hour. It's incredible. So, but that's 3 things happening right there that replaces really 3 different integrations. There's tons of examples of how people are using this. Last year, I was able to help a company that was using Maximo SaaS be able to integrate directly with their Workday SaaS as well. So that was just the integration that we had to build. I've got another company we helped last year that, has a tons of different things going on between their proprietary ERP that they've built in-house, and they needed to be able to communicate with Salesforce. It's in data back and forth several times a day. We can even do that on Trigger. When something's updated, it's automatically updated here. So it was incredible products, but at the end of the day, it's API consumer, API producer, API consumer, and how are you using those things? I'm probably one of the few nerds in the world that gets really excited about this, but
you can't see it, but I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. But
What
yeah, that's what I
is
deal
it
with
is
most
it
day.
is it GUI based? Because again, like I've never seen it. So like when you're saying like is it like fairly easy to use? Like you're trying to say like trying to organize these three things happening in this order. Is that like all like built
Yeah.
out via code, or is it like kind of like a nice slick UI that you can kind of like drag and drop stuff how you want it, or what does that look like?
So I don't know. I took my family to the beach, right? My oldest kid, he swims pretty well, right? So he wants to get pretty deep in the water. My daughter, she does not like the water, so she was happy to sit right at the shore, right? That's what she knew and what she was comfortable with. App Connect is similar. We've got a great GUI that's built for what we call a citizen integrator. So somebody that's not tech savvy at all can go in there and drag and drop. Hey, I need to get data from Salesforce. And when this data comes from Salesforce, I need to, let's say a new sales lead hits Salesforce. I need to send a Slack message to the salesperson that's responsible for that account. And then I also need to take that and create a task in their Monday.com workflow. And so that's drag and drop, boom, boom, boom. And you can format your messaging and stuff. And it's like, hi, name, new lead name needs to be reached out at email, phone number. That's simple,
Right.
and that goes to Slack.
Yep.
So that's the citizen integrator standpoint. So, I could teach my 8-year-old to do that with no problem. But there's also the toolkit. And then the toolkit is far more dev centric. So if you wanted to get in there and build really complex things and you're a dev and that's where you live, you can do that. Has CLI for API Connect and App Connect. So depending on how far in the ocean you want to get, you can go. If you want to swim with the sharks, then go right ahead. But if you want to wade where you might be picking up like little mussels, you can do that as well.
So do people get App Connect and API Connect together? I mean, is that common?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
like is that a cloud pack? Like, what would that, or are they still separate products? Like, how does that look?
Either.
Okay.
So people that want to, work in a containerized environment and have microservices, and there's a lot of flexibility that comes with Cloud Pak as far as licensing and being able to move licensing around from product to product. So we do have a lot of people that do that. And the Cloud Pak for integration, it has API Connect, it has App Connect, it has Data Power, it has MQ, it has Aspera. So there's a lot of abilities there that you're like, hey, I need to use VPCs for this tool. And so that happens all the time. But right now, in the new client acquisition space, we're doing a lot of this stuff with SaaS tools. Our SaaS tools, they're not necessarily married to IBM clouds. We have SaaS tools that are in AWS Marketplace now. And what we're able to do is, if you're setting up an instance of API Connect and App Connect, and you've set them up with the same IBM ID, then they integrate smoothly between one another. So I can create APIs in API Connect and then automatically pull those over to App Connect and put those into event flows right there in App Connect. So I could be calling my own API and then sending that data somewhere else. So yeah, I mean they integrate incredibly smoothly.
How do we get on the distribution for this joke of the day? I know that's the real question. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it. What was your question?
Could you help me? Yeah, thanks, Joe. Could you help me make a distinction? Like what is the difference between the two products, right? Like if you were to really bring it up to the highest level, how can I in my own mind make the difference between an API and an app, connecting those two things together? Is it like an app is more pieces, whereas API is a little more granular? Maybe help me out here, because I'm still not seeing the difference.
Right. So API, both of them are using APIs. Like just so that's where the confusion comes in. And honestly, man, we get a lot of leads.
And the names are very similar. Maybe
they're
API
so
Connect,
similar.
We should get different
just
names.
one letter off.
I'm saying. So close.
Yeah. We spell out API. We don't spell out app. I'll just leave it at that. So
all right, that's clear now.
So with API Connect, API Connect is for people that are producing APIs.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
App Connect is for people that are consuming APIs.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's at the end of the day, those are the key differentiators. Is API Connect is for the guy that's sitting there developing APIs and shipping those APIs and socializing those APIs and having to manage those APIs. App Connect is all about the utilization of APIs. So you're using somebody else's. Go ahead.
Put something like Swagger or Open API like over on the App Connect side, right? Where it's like this is exposing the API and making it simpler to use, whereas API Connect is I'm developing this API and I want to make sure that these things are performant, they're secure, that they're actually giving me back the objects consistently that I'm asking for.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and I think you're spot on there. The with API Connect, I can take a Swagger document from another API and include that in an API flow over here. But at the end of the day, you're creating another REST API, another SOAP API, another GraphQL. With App Connect, like yesterday, I have a customer that we're working with right now that's at the end of the day, what all they're trying to do is they're trying to get data to automatically flow between Google Sheets, where they're keeping financial data, to get it straight into a Cognos dashboard. So we created the integration with Cognos. We don't have a connector for Cognos, but Cognos API is public and go into IBM documentation and grab that. And so I downloaded the entire Open API spec, imported that into App Connect, and now I basically have a Cognos connector there. And you can do that with anything with that Open API spec that you have access to.
That's great. You can just plug those in.
Right.
Pretty easy. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. You said you mentioned another product that I'm also curious about. Aspera. I've heard a lot about Aspera insofar as like lots of people use it. And in terms of like what it does, it's the best at it, or maybe oftentimes like the only thing that can do what it does. Is that something you work with as well? Can you tell us a little bit about like what Aspera is generally?
Yeah, I love Aspera. Aspera is an incredible product. I cover primarily the California territory, so media and entertainment's huge out there. The problem that media and entertainment comes across is that transferring 4K data or even 1080p data, it's all unstructured. How do you move unstructured data quickly? And so that's a huge problem for the media entertainment industry. And we've been able to solve that with Aspera. Aspera has a proprietary protocol called FASP, Fast and Secure Protocol. And what we're able to do is, because of this special protocol, which is, I'm not sure, you guys are infrastructure guys, so you would get a lot of this. If you look at networks, you've got your protocols for transfer. So you have HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. You have File Transfer Protocol with FTP. And whenever you're sending messages over a network, of a wire, and you're like, hey, here's packets 1 through 4. Did you get packets 1 through 4? And then the other service replies back, yes, I received packets 1 through 4. Or, hey, I've received packets 1 through 3, but I dropped packet 4. Can you send 4 again? Right. And so that creates a lot of overhead in the pipe. And so there's another protocol. There's another protocol called UDP. And don't ask me what UDP stands for, because I can't tell you off the top of my head.
The P stands for protocol. I'll tell you that.
I guarantee it. I wouldn't be surprised if U was like unified or universal or something like that, right? But UDP is like, hey, packet, and it has no idea whether it's getting there or not. So there's no acknowledgement on that packet. And there's the problem with UDP is there's packet loss. There's packet loss. What I can't. FASP is a proprietary protocol, so I can't speak to how it works. I don't necessarily even know fully how it works, but what I can tell you is there's a small company in California called Fox Sports Network.
I've heard about
they do these things where they put out video content on like major sporting events, like this little game called the Super Bowl. They've also done World Cups across the world. And so they have an expense every time you go to a sporting event. You see this giant white trailer out in the parking lot with this giant satellite dish. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 of them. And so inside that trailer, there's, a bunch of dudes sitting there with a whole lot of equipment that they had to fly in. They've got hotel rooms. That trailer is expensive to own and to move. And a lot of times in different places, you go like to a small college football game, they lease that trailer from a local company. And so that's a whole nother cost. So there's staffing costs, there's equipment costs, there's transportation costs, there's security issues by having that there. What Fox Sports was able to do because of Aspera, they're able to take, you think about the Super Bowl. How many cameras are at the Super Bowl going at one time? How many views and angles are there a boatload, right?
Yeah.
So and now everything's in 4K. So that's not just a little bit of data. That's a whole lot of data.
That's right.
So they're using Aspera to take, say the Super Bowl is in Miami, their home office is in Los Angeles. They're taking that data from Miami, 4K streaming video, back to Los Angeles over the internet, not via satellite, but over the internet, doing live editing at home in Los Angeles rather than in the parking lot, which is, I don't know how many, couple thousand miles away.
Three
Joe,
to 4,
you're down in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a huge distance. And so they're doing live editing in LA and still getting this product out to the United States and Canada, and still considered live because it's in a sub 15-second delay. So it's insane. And not only have they done that with the Super Bowl, they did that with the Paris World Cup, the Russia Women's World Cup a few years ago. And these are public examples, or I wouldn't be sharing them here, but it's just an incredible product. It's one of those things that I haven't had a deep enough look under the hood to know how it works, but I know that it does work, and we've got some really big names in the media entertainment space that are using it. Now, if you're not media and entertainment, then that doesn't mean a whole lot to you. But if you're in the legal world, then you've got e-discovery files. And e-discovery is a crazy thing, because if you're a law firm and another law firm is suing you and they want discovery files, you're going to send them a ton of crap so that they have to look through so much. So how do you get that across the wire? So there's this massive amount of... You can't just ship
them pallets of boxes anymore?
Right. Well, I mean, what's the cost of that? And then like in medical, in the medical space, I mean, that's a whole nother place. Last year, we were talking to a company that's doing remote robotic surgery, or they're planning to do remote robotic surgery, and being able to, that's imaging that's really, really important, and the speed is incredibly important. So they need to make sure that they have consistent speeds, and they need it to be very, very fast.
I'm not being the first person to sign up for that. I'm gonna let a couple people go through that first. You know what I mean? Just to work kinks out, and then
right.
Not very adventurous, are you, Joe?
Right.
By the way, I want to interrupt. Our producer Rick just called in and let me know that stands for User Datagram Protocol.
Yes.
I don't know who Rich is.
Watch the Halloween episode.
Watch
the Halloween episode, and then you'll know who did. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. He'll make an appearance again one day.
He will.
Yeah. But that's interesting, though. I mean, it's a good point, because I guess like in the little I understood about Aspera, I think I really only thought entertainment space, live streaming services, things like that. But to your point, it really does extend beyond sort of the obvious into things like you said, like healthcare, which I made a joke, but like that is going to become more and more popular for sure. To be able to deliver a high quality service remotely, there's going to be a huge win for people all over the world, no doubt. So yeah, you would definitely need something like Aspera to make sure that there is no lag in I do this and I want an immediate response kind of thing. So
what is the mechanism by which it does that? Like, is it that it is tracking the packets, or that it knows that a packet was lost, or like how is it doing that?
Proprietary, Greg.
Oh, that's
proprietary.
Fine. That's fine.
Since you have
like
two
a quality
G's,
of service type thing, or like
since you have two G's in your name, does he just say "oh geez" a lot whenever you say something?
A lot. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Double G.
There you go. There you go. That's but yeah, it's one of those things that I got to IBM and I was like, wow, because I come from dealing with infrastructure. I worked at HPE. I sold infrastructure and network stuff at a reseller. I dealt with storage. I was a technical sales guy for HPE storage for a while. And whenever you're in that world, speed is everything. So we had a thing called Nimble Cloud Volumes that was directly adjacent to AWS and Azure data centers, because the speed of getting the mounted storage to the to the servers was extremely important. And so like think a lot about network speed, and I'm like, how is this even possible? But what I can tell you is that it works. And
Well, it's the streaming part that like is the really kind of cool thing, right? Because I guess in the cloud there's similar concepts like CDNs, right? Like
yeah,
where you can kind of cache locally and then have a shorter distance to grab it, but that doesn't work for streaming because there's it's not it's not cached already. So
Right.
yeah, that's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, please.
No, I mean, I think we're probably coming up on time here, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty interesting the streaming world. I mean, we're doing a lot with streaming with Aspera, but if you look at NS1, right? So it's managed DNS. Nobody thinks about DNS that much, but the query speeds that those guys are getting and the uptime that they're getting is out of this world. And so we do really, really well also in the streaming world with NS1. So I don't know. We're doing a lot of exciting things in the M&E space, but that's applicable to a lot of industries. So
do you
anyways,
cover,
Joe, sorry I interrupted
do you cover network automation stuff?
Man, I get paid on a lot of stuff, and that's definitely one of the things I get paid on.
There you go. That's nothing wrong with that, dude. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm a jack of many trades, but I definitely kind of have more specialized areas than I am in network automation. I'll put it that way.
You know what though? It's good to know a little bit about a lot. So for sure. But listen, this was great, and we could honestly talk about. I want to hear your take on a bunch of other IBM products, to be honest.
Right.
So but for the sake of you two and for everyone watching, it was Friday. Maybe we can have you on again and kind of continue this conversation, or maybe, just maybe. I mean, it's up to you. I don't want to say because we invited you on honors. You have to invite us. I'm not saying
Quid
that.
pro
I'm
quo.
just saying, it'd be nice, but think about it. Whatever.
Absolutely.
It's just an idea.
But, yeah, just a thought, just spitballing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But kind of forgot to even ask though, before we kind of sign off, why don't you tell people a little bit about your podcast? What's it called? Where can they find you? That whole thing.
Yeah, it's terrible. Nobody wants to watch that, but if they do,
we watch it.
I know two people that want to.
There you go. So I've got a total of 6 episodes out, but it's called David Talks About Tech and Stuff. It's mostly about stuff, but definitely from a tech perspective.
I like stuff.
Yeah, stuff is great. I also like things. Stuff and things, they go
Stuff
very.
and things?
Come on.
Stuff and things go
Are you telling me that it's called Dave Talks About Stuff, but there's also things?
Yeah, there's also things.
Things coming in season 2, I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Episode 7. Make it about things. We can bring things to the show.
Yeah. So David Talks About Tech and Stuff. You can search that on the YouTube machine. I've got 1 episode on Apple Podcasts, but I'm working on a lot of integration in the background. Bought a house in October, which means I've been between studios and we had a whole lot going on. So it's been a little while since I made an episode, but it's definitely about to make, we'll call it season 2, is about to begin. So, but yeah, we'll definitely get you guys lined up in the huge Rolodex of people I've got waiting to come on.
Yeah, like whenever you can squeeze us in.
There's a hell of a queue.
No big deal. And then if you want to help us like put our catalog onto Apple Music, once you figured it out, just let us know. I mean, I'll give you that. You just need the APIs, right? You just need the APIs? No problem. Got you. No, but thank you, David. Honestly, it was great chatting with you. I know Greg and I are both, honestly, we do watch your show and are a fan, and we're kind of excited to have you on today. So, but yeah, let's do this again. Let's chat more.
Absolutely.
And, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for everyone watching, thanks as always. For more great information on any of the products we spoke about today, check out IBM's community pages. It's all there for you. And yeah, until the next time, have a great day, guys.